My dear friends, the first of the landmark judgment is with respect to Kerala High Court judgment. Determination of tax not paid, short paid. The Supreme Court agreed to admit the special leave petition. Pinky Construction versus Executive Engineer, North Bengal Development Department, due to a regime change but was denied reimbursement by the authorities. Argued that the relevant notification number 50, the Secretary of the Public Works Department was directed to reconsider the petitioner's claim. 2025 onwards, there is going to be auto lock on GST 3B. We all know about it. Civil Writ Jurisdiction Case 9105 of 2024. The government sought to recover royalty by deducting it from the petitioner's bills, as previously received refunds of unutilized input tax credit. GST outlook for the day. My dear friends, there are about totally 8 landmark judgments that have come on the GST across the country. My dear friends, the first of the landmark judgment is with respect to Kerala High Court judgment, wherein the judgment is Undai versus State Tax Officers WPC number 499 of 2025. It was held in this judgment that mere availing of IGST credit under CGST and SGST does not constitute wrong availment of ITC. It was held by the High Court, that is Kerala High Court, my dear friends. My dear friends, the facts of the case is, the assessee was found to have utilized input tax credit. The assessee has used the input tax credit in excess by availing IGST credit under CGST and SGST, leading to a liability under Section 73. Knowing Section 73 is very, very important. If you see, 73 comes under Chapter 15 under the GST law. 73 comes under demands and recovery. Under that, Section 73. Section 73 provides for determination of tax not paid or short paid or erroneously refunded or input tax credit wrongly availed or utilized for any reason other than fraud or any willful misstatement or suppression of facts. This is the very, very important point, wherein there is a wrong utilization of input tax credit under Section 73, whether it will amount to erroneous availment of input tax credit is the question. Meanwhile, an order of assessment was passed against the assessee, who then filed an appeal before the appellate authority. And accordingly, if you see, the assessee went to the Kerala High Court. Meanwhile, the Kerala High Court, in the case of Regimen Padikam Parambil, Alex versus Union of India, observed that the electronic credit ledger, where the input tax credit is shown, functions like a wallet. It explained what is an electronic credit ledger. It said that electronic credit ledger is like a wallet. Very, very important to be noted. It's like a purse with separate compartments like IGST, CGST, SGST, and using IGST credit under GST and SGST heads does not amount to using IGST credit against CGST or SGST credit does not amount to wrongful availment of input tax credit, and demand does not arise under the GST. My dear friends, the assessee argued that this judicial principle applied to their case as well, which was held in Regimen Padikam Parambil versus Union of India, and accordingly they applied this principle which was held in that judgment. My dear friends, the court held that while the pending appeal prevented interference with the assessment order, the appellate authority was directed to decide the appeal promptly within 4 weeks, considering the impact of Kerala High Court judgment. My dear friends, the writ petition was not dismissed, but the Kerala High Court has provided 4 weeks time along with a direction to take up the Kerala High Court judgment, that is Regimen Alex versus Union of India judgment. It was not considered as an erroneous availment of input tax credit. Next important landmark judgment, GST landmark judgment number 2. It is with respect to Delhi High Court judgment in case of B. Sons Traders versus Commissioner of Delhi Goods and Service Tax, WP number 6066 of 2025. My dear friends, under this judgment, it was held, very, very important, in this Delhi High Court judgment, it was held matter to be re-adjudicated as assessee responded to show cause notice yet lacked fair opportunity to be heard. It was held in the Delhi High Court. My dear friends, the facts of the case is, assessee received a show cause notice, that is SCN, we call it shortly as SCN, and subsequent demand order for a period July 2017 to March 2018, and submitted a reply to the show cause notice. But the assessee did not attend the personal hearing granted by the adjudicating authority who was doing the adjudicating the matter. Since the assessee was not given a proper opportunity to be heard, the case was remanded back for re-adjudication. Not only that, the assessee contested the validity of CBIC notification 9/2023, central tax dated 31/3/2023, which relates to the limitation period for extending the time to raise demand. The challenge to the CBIC notification is subject to the outcome of the Supreme Court pending decision on the matter. Accordingly, this was held in the Delhi High Court judgment in case of B. Sons Traders versus Commission of Delhi Goods and Service Tax, my dear friends. The third important landmark judgment for the day is with respect to the Supreme Court judgment. My dear friends, it was held in Saluja Motors Private Limited versus State of Himachal Pradesh in case of Supreme Court Special Leave Petition number 14145 of 2025. It was held that mere non-issuance of show cause notice does not prejudice assessee, but failure to issue specific notice warrants admission of SLP. It was held in the Supreme Court. My dear friends, it's a landmark judgment because any Supreme Court judgment is a landmark judgment. It's a law of the land because there is no further appeal except review. Considering it, the facts of the case is the case pertains to the demand for a period 2017 to 2018, where the assessee challenged the issuance of a summary show cause notice. So there is always a provision with respect to issuance of summary show cause notice along with the complete audit report after an audit was conducted. And then the assessee argued that since the detailed reply was filed in response to the summary show cause notice, mere non-issuance of a formal show cause notice did not cause any prejudice. Accordingly, the High Court held that serving a summary show cause notice with the audit report was sufficient and the assessee had the opportunity to contest. But the point here is, however it was specified that however it was found, very very important, however it was found, no specific notice under section 73 subsection 1, that is with respect to determination of tax not paid, short paid or erroneously refunded or input tax credit wrongly availed or utilized for any reason other than fraud or any willful misstatement or suppression of fact, or section 74 subsection 1. 74 subsection 1 provides for determination of tax not paid or short paid or erroneously refunded or input tax credit wrongly availed or utilized by reason of fraud or any willful misstatement or suppression of fact was actually issued to the assessee. My dear friends, consequently, the Supreme Court agreed to admit the special leave petition SLP and directed that no recovery action should be taken until the matter is finally decided. It is a landmark judgment, my dear friends, which is a very very important judgment to be noted by all of you. The fourth landmark judgment for the day is from Kolkata High Court. It was held in Pinky Construction versus Executive Engineer, North Bengal Development Department, WPA number 875 of 2022. It was held in this case, GST reimbursement claim on post-GST contract cannot be denied by applying clause meant for pre-GST contract was held in the Kolkata High Court judgment. The facts of the case is, the petitioner is a government contractor, paid additional GST on gross bills for the period from July 1, 2017 to 31st March 2019 due to a regime change but was denied reimbursement by the authorities. And the petitioner further argued that the relevant notification number 50 dated August 16, 2017, specifically paragraph 3 clause 4, applies only to pre-GST contracts and cannot be used to deny GST reimbursement for contracts executed after July 1, 2017. The petitioner further contended that the denial of reimbursement was arbitrary, unreasonable, discriminatory, violating Article 14 of the Constitution of India. They have invoked Article 14 of the Constitution of India also while they argued about the GST. My dear friends, the authority was found to have misunderstood the notification's applicability, and the notification was squarely only applicable to the pre-GST era, incorrectly applying the paragraph 3 clause 4 to post-GST contracts instead of paragraph 4, which governs contracts after July 1, 2017. So the they have applied wrongly paragraph 3 clause 4. The Secretary of the Public Works Department was directed to reconsider the petitioner's claim for GST reimbursement, provide a reasoned order and offer an opportunity for hearing, given that the petitioner has already paid the GST amount from their own funds, my dear friends. It was held in Pinky Construction versus Executive Engineer, North Bengal Development Department, my dear friends. GST Landmark Judgment 5 is from Guwahati High Court judgment. My dear friends, it was held in Tata Projects Limited Assam versus Union of India and others, WP number 2922, part 2025. Tata Projects to examine validity of show cause notice clubbed for multiple years. My dear friends, the fact of the case is Guwahati High Court granted interim relief to Tata Projects, which is engaged in government works contract in Assam, by restraining the revenue from taking coercive action related to excess input tax credit utilization for the year 2018-2019 to 2020-2021. In fact, the revenue has initiated proceedings through a single show cause notice covering multiple years. So it is happening across the country now, where they issue only single show cause notice for multiple years, and accordingly proposing denial of ITC due to mismatches between GSTR 3B, and of course we all know about the issue that is prevailing from July 1, 2025 onwards. There is going to be auto lock on GST 3B. We all know about it, but still there are some mismatches which come, resulting in a demand exceeding 1.4 crore along with interest and penalty. My dear friends, the Tata Projects had already challenged the order by filing an appeal, and accordingly which was rejected, but the company had deposited pre-deposit required at the appellate stage. My dear friends, the High Court, Guwahati High Court, noted these facts and directed the revenue not to enforce any coercive measures regarding the demand until the next hearing. The court issued a notice to the revenue with the matter scheduled for further hearing on July 18, 2025. So, accordingly, a show cause notice issued for multiple years, denying the input tax credit, and ensured that the court has given a protection to Tata Projects with respect to coercive action. My dear friends, GST Landmark Judgment number 6. It is a Patna High Court judgment. It was held in Anil Kumar Singh versus Union of India, Civil Writ Jurisdiction Case 9105 of 2024. SCN, that is show cause notice issued after limitation period, held unsustainable as contractor unaware of tax liability in absence of invoice from government. It was held in the Patna High Court judgment. My dear friends, the facts of the case is the petitioner, a government contractor, engaged in road and building construction, purchased materials like sand, bricks directly from the market, and did not receive any goods or services from the government for the contract work. In this case, the government sought to recover royalty by deducting it from the petitioner's bills, but the petitioner challenged this demand, arguing that the show cause notice was barred by limitation period under section 73 subsection 1 of the Finance Act 1994, because there are 3 years period. In case of 74, it is about 5 years, and we all know about it. Why department comes and issues instead of 73, they issue 74. And accordingly, the petitioner contended no invoice was issued by the government department for the alleged service, which could have informed him about the service tax liability and applicable rates, and he had not registered for service tax due to the exemption. My dear friends, the court held that the petitioner activity was exempt under mega exemption notification number 25 of 2012. So, no service tax was payable, and mere lack of registration did not imply fraud or willful suppression of tax liability. My dear friends, since the petitioner did not act fraudulently or with intent to evade tax, the show cause notice was time barred and extended limitation period was not applicable. Thus, the demand and notice were quashed. It was all held in the Patna High Court judgment, my dear friends. GST Landmark Judgment number 7. My dear friends, it is a Madras High Court judgment. It was held in JRS Document Service versus Deputy Commercial Tax Officer. JRS Document Service versus Deputy Commercial Tax Officer, Chennai. WP number 16933 of 2025. It was held in this judgment. Matter remanded as assessment order passed without personal hearing violated principles of natural justice, held the Madras High Court. My dear friends, the facts of the case is a show cause notice under section 73 of the Act was issued to the assessee for alleged filing incorrect tax returns. That is permissible. But it was only uploaded on the GST portal without any direct communication. There was no direct communication to the assessee. Now the question is, uploading in the GST portal may be one of the modes of communication, but not the only mode of communication. Considering it, the assessing authority passed an order levying tax because the assessee neither paid the disputed tax nor responded to the notice, assuming the portal upload was sufficient service. The assessee argued that it never received a proper notice, it was only uploaded on the portal, and they were ready to pay 25% of the disputed tax if given a fresh opportunity. My dear friends, the court held that mere uploading of the notice on the portal without ensuring actual receipt by the assessee does not amount to effective service of notice. The order was set aside as illegal, unsustainable, because the assessee was not given a personal hearing or proper notice, and the authorities should have sent the notice via reliable mode like RPAD and ensure proper service. GST Landmark Judgment number 8. My dear friends, this landmark judgment is a Bombay High Court judgment. It was held in Sundane Pumps and Compressors Private Limited versus Union of India, writ petition number 15228 of 2023, wherein it was held designing and engineering services provided to foreign group companies qualify as export and refund to be allowed. It was held by the Bombay High Court. My dear friends, the facts of the case is the assessee providing design and engineering services to its group companies abroad has previously received refunds of unutilized input tax credit for earlier periods without departmental appeals. And it so happened when assessee filed for refunds for July to December 2021, the department rejected the claim, alleging the assessee acted as an agent of the foreign recipient. Accordingly, thus disqualifying the supply as export and zero rated. Circular number, we all know about circular number 161 bar 2017 bar 2021 clarified that supplies to related parties qualify as export of services, negating the department's agency instrument. And accordingly, the definition of agent requires involvement of a third party. Now the question is, but here only two parties existed, the assessee and its foreign group companies. Only two parties, assessee and foreign group companies. So the assessee cannot be considered as an agent. The assessee and the foreign recipients are independent entities and services qualify as exports, and the assessee is entitled to a refund of unutilized input tax credit on zero rated supplies. My dear friends, this is all about the GST outlook. This GST outlook that we are presenting on an everyday basis is useful for practicing chartered accountant, company secretary, cost and management accountant, finance heads in a company. So it's a judicial outlook of the GST law that we bring to you on an everyday basis. And accordingly, by understanding this judicial outlook of the GST on an everyday basis, you not only get to understand how the law is actually moving forward, but you will also understand how the law is getting transformed, how the law is GST jurisprudence is getting evolved across the nation, different constitutional court, that is High Court, including Supreme Court. Let's stay connected, let's stay empowered. Thank you.